How to stay calm and positive in life. There are mornings when the world feels heavy before you even open your eyes. You sense the rush of obligations, the arguments left unresolved, the bills sitting in silence on the table, the conversations you keep putting off because you are afraid of what they might reveal. The weight presses on your chest, and you wonder if this day will be any different from the last. Perhaps you know this feeling too well, the sense that life has become a storm that will not pass, a storm that keeps circling no matter how much you try to outrun it. You wake up tired not because your body has not rested, but because your soul is weary of carrying battles that never seem to end. It is in those moments when your mind feels like an overcrowded room of restless voices that you begin to doubt yourself. You tell yourself you should be stronger, calmer, more capable of handling it all. And yet you are here, fragile, uncertain, afraid that peace is only for other people. But let me tell you something you may not have heard enough in your life. You are not broken. You are not weak. You are not behind. You are simply human, living in a world that was never designed to make peace easy. The truth is, calmness is not handed out by circumstances. Positivity is not granted as a reward to the lucky. Both are cultivated, chosen, and protected like sacred gardens in the middle of chaos. I want to invite you into a different way of seeing, a way where calm is not a distant dream but a daily practice, where positivity is not about denying the darkness, but about learning how to carry your own light into it. You do not need a perfect life to feel at peace. You do not need the approval of the world to radiate joy. What you need is a shift in philosophy from fighting the uncontrollable to mastering what is within you, from being a prisoner of your thoughts to becoming their guide, from seeing life as something that happens to you to seeing it as something you shape with intention. This is the core of everything that follows in this book. By the time you reach the end of these pages, you will hold in your hands not just ideas, but tools, living, breathing practices that can turn panic into presence, frustration into wisdom, and despair into renewed strength. You will discover how to untangle yourself from the endless chase of control, how to uncover gratitude in places that once felt empty, how to reset your emotions before they spiral into storms, how to rewrite the cruel narratives in your head into voices of courage, and how to stand in the present moment without being swallowed by regrets of the past or fears of the future. I will not promise that life will suddenly become easy. It will not. What I will promise is this: you will become unshakable, not because the storms will end, but because you will no longer be at their mercy. You will learn how to carry calmness into traffic jams, into arguments, into sleepless nights, into the fragile moments when life surprises you with loss or change. And you will discover that positivity is not a performance for others to see, but a deep reservoir of resilience that allows you to rise again and again. If you have ever felt overwhelmed, if you have ever doubted your ability to find joy again, if you have ever wondered whether calmness is just an illusion in this noisy world, then this book is for you. Together we will walk through the paradox of control, the revolution of gratitude, the art of resetting emotions, the power of rewriting your inner story, and so much more. Each chapter is a step not into some fantasy of a perfect life, but into a deeper alignment with the life you already have, the life that can be lived with strength, clarity, and unshakable peace. So take a deep breath. Let this be the moment where you stop running from your thoughts and start listening to them with compassion. Let this be the moment where you decide you are worthy of calm, even if your world feels chaotic. Let this be the moment where you no longer postpone joy, where you no longer wait for the world to change before you allow yourself to shine. Peace is not somewhere far away. It is already within you, waiting for you to choose it. And today, that choice begins. Chapter 1. Focus fully on building your strongest self every day. There is a paradox that shapes the lives of millions of people without them even realizing it. The more they try to control, the less control they feel. It begins with the smallest things. You are sitting in traffic, watching the minutes slip away, feeling the heat rise in your chest. You grip the wheel harder, switch lanes, honk your horn, as though force could bend the world to your will. But the cars do not move any faster. All that changes is your blood pressure, your mood, your peace. You leave the scene not with a solution, but with frustration that lingers long after the traffic clears. This is the paradox of control. The tighter your grip, the more life slips through your fingers. It is easy to fall into the illusion that you are the director of every scene, the architect of every outcome, the commander of other people's behavior, the weather, the economy, even your own thoughts. You spend so much energy trying to choreograph life into obedience that you miss the truth staring back at you. You are not the director. You are the main character. And your role is not to force every detail of the plot, but to bring your fullest presence to the stage that unfolds before you. The world convinces us that calm comes when we finally gain control, when the boss approves, when the partner understands, when the finances stabilize, when the future bends to our plans. But if that were true, then the most powerful people would also be the most peaceful. Yet you know this is not the case. Peace is not about controlling the uncontrollable. It is about drawing a clear line between what belongs to you and what does not. Between the circle of your influence and the vast outer circle where you have no power. Think of it this way. In the center of your life is a sacred circle. Inside it are your thoughts, your reactions, your choices, your habits, your words, the way you treat yourself and others. These are yours to shape. Outside the circle are the opinions of others. The past you cannot rewrite, the future you cannot predict, the storms of weather, the economy, and the decisions of people you do not control. Yet most people pour 90% of their energy into that outer circle, clawing at shadows, wrestling ghosts, exhausting themselves in battles they can never win. They worry about being liked instead of focusing on being excellent. They try to reshape their partner's personality instead of tending to their own growth. They replay the past or attempt to script the future while neglecting the only place their strength actually exists, the present moment within their own choices. When you shift your energy back into the inner circle, everything begins to change. You realize that excellence is not about managing outcomes, but about mastering effort. You realize that you cannot force people to love you, but you can choose to love deeply and authentically. You cannot guarantee tomorrow's success, but you can commit to the work today with dignity and passion. And when you live this way, something remarkable happens. Your influence expands. The calm in your presence softens tense rooms. Your steadiness under pressure inspires respect. Your choices ripple outward, shaping outcomes in ways that control never could. I learned this not from a theory, but from exhaustion. I was drowning in a job where the ground shifted daily, where my boss was unpredictable, where rumors of change kept everyone awake at night. I tried to control it all, forecasting decisions, imagining outcomes, rehearsing worst-case scenarios. I was a prisoner of possibilities that never arrived. Until one evening in desperation, I drew 2 circles on a piece of paper. I wrote every fear, every worry, every scenario inside or outside those circles. What I saw stunned me. Almost everything consuming me belonged to the outer circle. I had been bleeding my energy into a void. That night I made a vow I will live only in the inner circle. The change was quiet but powerful. I stopped trying to predict what my boss would do and started focusing on being excellent in the work only I could control. I stopped obsessing over rumors and instead invested in my colleagues with kindness and collaboration. I stopped tormenting myself with imagined futures and chose to prepare myself for whatever might come. Within 3 months, my life had transformed. Not because the storms ended, but because I was no longer chained to them. Ironically, I was promoted soon after, not because I forced the outcome, but because I had finally mastered my own effort. The true gift was not the promotion. It was the peace that grew inside me, the strength that came from knowing my calm was not dependent on the chaos around me. This truth stretches into every area of life. In relationships, you cannot dictate whether someone will return your love, but you can live with love that is genuine, not performative. In health, you cannot change your genetics, but you can shape the habits that give your body strength. In careers, you cannot control the economy, but you can pour excellence into your craft, growing yourself in ways that no external storm can steal. The liberation is extraordinary. You begin to sleep without replaying conversations you cannot rewrite. You begin to breathe without carrying the weight of 1,000 imaginary futures. You begin to live not in reaction, but in intention. This is not passivity. This is not surrender. It is the most powerful form of action there is, to direct your limited energy into places where it multiplies rather than evaporates. To focus on what is truly yours, and in doing so, to reclaim a life of peace. This is the paradox of control. You stop grasping at the wind, and instead you build roots so deep that no storm can uproot you. And now I ask you, where have you been fighting battles you cannot win? Where have you wasted your nights? Wrestling with shadows outside your circle. Today is the day to draw your two circles. Today is the day to decide that you will no longer bleed your strength into the void. Bring your energy home into your own choices, your own character, your own actions. That is where transformation begins. If you are still with me, chances are you are ready to stop exhausting yourself with battles that are not yours. Take this moment to reflect on one area where you have been pouring energy into the uncontrollable. Write it down. Then write one action, one choice, one thought you can focus on that belongs to you. Let that be your beginning. And if these words have stirred something in you, if you feel the spark of a shift waiting to happen, then share this journey with someone you love. You never know whose storm could be calmed by the reminder that peace is not found in control, but in clarity. Subscribe to the channel so you do not lose these reminders when you need them most. Let this be more than words. Let this be a turning point. Chapter 2. The Gratitude Revolution. There are moments in life that break us open. A sudden loss, a rejection we never saw coming, the collapse of something we thought was secure. In those moments, gratitude feels impossible. Who could be grateful in the middle of devastation? Gratitude seems reserved for sunny days, for victories, for when everything falls into place. And yet the truth is far more radical. Real gratitude is not about making lists of blessings when life is kind. Real gratitude is about discovering gold in the shadows. It is about seeing through the pain to the hidden gifts that only hardship can reveal. I once knew a woman named Sarah. She had given 12 years of her life to a company, believing it was her home, her future. Then one day, the door closed. No warning, no preparation, just a cold announcement that her job was gone. For weeks, she felt nothing but bitterness and fear. She had a family to feed, bills to pay, and no clear plan. Gratitude was the last thing on her mind. But then a question rose in her heart, a question that would change everything. What could I possibly be grateful for in this? At first, it sounded absurd, even cruel, but slowly she realized that losing her job had given her something rare, a pause. For the first time in over a decade, she had space to breathe, to ask herself what she truly wanted. She reconnected with her children, rediscovered passions long buried, and began shaping a life that aligned with her heart. Within 2 years, she was running her own consulting business, thriving in ways she had never imagined. Looking back, she told me, "Getting fired was the best thing that ever happened to me. I just could not see it until gratitude opened my eyes." This is the revolution of gratitude. It is not about ignoring pain or pretending hardship is sweet. It is about training your vision to look deeper, to ask, what hidden gift is here for me? What lesson is life carving into my soul through this difficulty? Gratitude turns victims into students and students into creators. But it does not stop with grand tragedies. Revolutionary gratitude is also about the ordinary, overlooked moments that hold quiet beauty. The fact that you woke up this morning with breath in your lungs, the steady rhythm of your heart beating without you having to command it, the clean water waiting for you at the turn of a tap, the people in your life, flawed and imperfect, who still walk beside you. These are riches greater than money, miracles disguised as normal. Gratitude is not just the act of noticing them, it is the act of truly receiving them and letting them change the way you carry yourself in the world. The human mind is wired to dwell on what is wrong. One criticism outweighs 10 compliments. One disappointment overshadows countless blessings. We replay insults, failures, and rejections for hours while forgetting moments of kindness within minutes. Gratitude rewires this imbalance. It interrupts the spiral of negativity and forces the brain to recognize what is still good, what is still present, what is still worth cherishing. And when you do this consistently, something profound happens. You stop interpreting every obstacle as disaster. Instead, you see them as teachers, redirections, hidden doors disguised as walls. I remember another man, Mark, who was shattered by divorce. Anger and despair consumed him until I challenged him with the same question. Can you find 3 things to be grateful for in this? He thought I had lost my mind. But slowly, he began to notice. He was learning independence. He was reconnecting with neglected friendships. He was rediscovering his own identity outside of marriage. Gratitude did not erase his grief, but it transformed his suffering into soil for growth. 6 months later, he told me, I am not glad it ended, but I am grateful for who I am becoming. Gratitude is not denial. Gratitude is defiance. It is standing in the wreckage of what you thought life should be, and choosing to see that even here, even now, beauty still exists. It is refusing to let bitterness be the final word. It is deciding that your heart will not close no matter what the world takes from you. Tonight, when the day is done, ask yourself 3 questions before you close your eyes. What difficulty did I face today? And what did it teach me? What plan failed? And how might it have protected or redirected me? Who challenged me? And how did that make me stronger? At first, the answers may come slowly, but keep asking. Over time, your vision will sharpen. You will find meaning where you once saw only pain, and you will carry a quiet strength that no storm can steal. If you are listening to this, I invite you to try this practice tonight. Share your answers in the comments, because someone else might need to hear the lesson hidden in your struggle. Gratitude grows stronger when we speak it out loud. And if this message stirred something in you, pass it on. You never know whose darkness might be lit by a single word of thanks. Subscribe so you never miss these reminders. Your revolution begins the moment you decide to see differently. Chapter 3. The Art of Emotional Resetting. Your emotions are like weather patterns. They sweep in, suddenly shift without warning, and sometimes leave wreckage in their wake. Anger strikes like lightning, fear chills like a storm, sadness lingers like heavy rain. Too often we mistake these passing states for permanent truths. We say, I am angry, as though anger defines who we are. We say, I am sad, as though sadness is our identity. But the truth is deeper. You are not your emotions. You are the sky in which they pass. You are the observer, the one who can step back and notice without being consumed. The storm is real, but so is the calm horizon waiting behind it. Most people never learn this. They let emotions drive the wheel of their life, pulling them into reactions they later regret. A sharp word spoken in anger that wounds a relationship. An impulsive decision made in fear that closes a door prematurely. A spiral of worry that robs days of joy without changing the future at all. Emotions are powerful, but they are not dictators unless you hand them the crown. Learning to reset your emotions is not about suppressing them or pretending they do not exist. It is about acknowledging them, interrupting their momentum, and guiding yourself back to calm before they spiral out of control. One of the most powerful techniques I have ever learned is called the stop method. It is simple, but it can save you from hours of unnecessary pain. S stands for stop. The moment you notice a surge of emotion rising, pause. Say stop in your mind or even whisper it out loud. This breaks the chain reaction before it gains unstoppable momentum. T stands for take a breath. Not just any breath, but a slow inhale through your nose for 4 counts. A gentle hold for 4 counts, and then a longer exhale through your mouth for 6 counts. That extended exhale activates your body's natural relaxation response, sending a message to your nervous system that you are safe. O stands for observe. Turn your attention to the emotion with curiosity instead of judgment. Instead of thinking, I should not feel this, you say, interesting. I notice I am angry. What triggered this? What is this feeling trying to tell me? You treat the emotion like a messenger rather than a monster. P stands for proceed with intention. Now that you have created space, you choose your next action. Instead of reacting blindly, you ask, how do I want to show up here? What would my strongest self do? When I first began practicing this, I was in the middle of a family crisis that threatened to rip us apart. My pattern had always been either to explode or to shut down. Neither helped. But when I began applying stop, I discovered something revolutionary. Even in the heat of conflict, I could breathe. I could notice. I could pause long enough to choose a response instead of being enslaved to a reaction. It did not erase the challenges, but it gave me power over myself. And that was enough to change everything. The beauty of emotional resetting is that it works both ways. It not only helps you manage negative emotions, it also amplifies positive ones. Most people replay embarrassment or failure for hours, yet forget a compliment or a moment of joy within minutes. Resetting means savoring the good as deliberately as you interrupt the bad. When you feel a moment of gratitude, love, or laughter, pause. Let it soak into your body for 20 full seconds. Notice the warmth in your chest, the softening in your muscles, the ease in your breath. This deposits the memory, deeply building resilience for the storms that will inevitably come. Science reveals something liberating. The chemical surge of an emotion lasts only about 90 seconds in your body. If you are angry for hours, it is not because the emotion lasted. It is because your thoughts kept feeding it. You rehearsed the insult. You replayed the slight. You imagined the worst. In doing so, you built a fire that could have burned out naturally in moments. This knowledge is power. It means that no matter how overwhelming an emotion feels, if you can pause, breathe, and stop fueling it, it will subside. You are not at the mercy of endless storms. You can let them pass. I experienced this in a moment that could have undone me. During a major presentation, I realized halfway through that I had made a serious mistake in my data. My heart pounded, my chest tightened, panic screamed in my head, but instead of spiraling, I paused. I told myself, I notice I am anxious. That makes sense. I breathed slowly, exhaled deeply, and corrected the error with calm clarity. To my surprise, the anxiety melted within minutes. The audience never saw panic. They saw professionalism. Later, colleagues praised me for handling the pressure gracefully. What could have been humiliation became respect, all because I reset instead of spiraled. Imagine how this could change your daily life. Instead of lashing out at a loved one in frustration, you stop, breathe, observe, and choose gentleness. Instead of letting fear paralyze you before an opportunity, you stop, breathe, observe, and choose courage. Instead of drowning in sadness, you stop, breathe, observe, and remind yourself that this too will pass. Emotional resetting is not denial, it is mastery. But here is the key: do not wait for the hurricane to practice. Use the stop method in small moments, when you are irritated in a line, when you feel restless before a call, when you catch yourself slipping into worry. Every time you practice in small storms, you strengthen your ability to withstand the larger ones. You train your nervous system to return to calm, like a muscle trained to return to balance. Over time, this becomes your new normal, not because life is easier, but because you are steadier. So I ask you now, what emotion has been ruling you lately? Anxiety, anger, sadness, What if you chose today to interrupt its power? Tonight, when you feel irritation rising, whisper, "Stop." Take that deep breath. Observe with curiosity. Then choose. Let this be the moment you reclaim your sky, even while storms pass through. If these words reached you, I invite you to test this practice in the next 24 hours. Notice one emotion. Reset it before it consumes you. Then return here and share what happened. Someone else may find hope in your story. And if this chapter is awakening strength in you, pass it on. There are countless souls waiting to discover that they are not powerless against their feelings. Subscribe to stay connected with more reminders like this. Your calm is not far, it is already within your reach. Chapter 4. Rewriting your inner story. The most important voice in your life is the one no one else hears. It is the voice that speaks in the quiet between conversations, the one that comments on your reflection in the mirror, the one that whispers when you are about to step into something new. This inner voice shapes your confidence, your choices, and ultimately your destiny. And yet for so many people, this voice is cruel. It criticizes instead of encourages. It belittles instead of uplifts. It tells you that you are not enough, that you always fail, that others are judging you. Imagine living every day with a roommate who insults you constantly. You would not tolerate it. And yet when that voice is inside your head, you accept it as truth. But here is the revelation that inner critic is not you. It is an echo of old programming, the residue of words spoken by parents, teachers, peers, or society. It is the voice of fear dressed up as authority. The real you, the aware, conscious, resilient self, is separate. And once you realize that you can begin to rewrite the story playing in your mind, you can stop being the bullied child of your own thoughts and become the author of your inner narrative. I remember a man named David, a gifted graphic designer who was paralyzed by anxiety. Every time a client asked for revisions, his inner voice hissed, "They hate your work. You are terrible at this." When he landed a new project, the voice sneered, "You just got lucky. They will figure out you are a fraud." When he made even the smallest mistake, the voice shouted, "You always screw up. You are going to lose everything." He lived in fear of being exposed, not because the world said he was inadequate, but because his inner story declared it day after day. At my urging, David began to notice his self-talk. He wrote it down. The words on the page shocked him. He realized he was bullying himself far more viciously than anyone else ever had. That awareness was the first crack in the wall. For the first time, he saw the critic as separate from himself. Then he began the work of reframing. Instead of "I always mess up," he told himself, "I make mistakes, and that is how I learn." Instead of "I am not good enough," he said, "I am growing every day, and my clients value what I create." Instead of "Everyone is judging me," he reminded himself, "Most people are too busy living their own lives to spend time judging mine." It was not instant. It took practice, discipline, and courage. But slowly the story shifted. His anxiety lessened, his confidence grew, his business expanded because he no longer sabotaged himself with self-doubt. And perhaps most importantly, he began to treat himself with the kindness he had always given to others, but withheld from himself. This is the power of rewriting your inner story. It begins with awareness. For the next few days, listen closely. When something goes wrong, what does your inner voice say? When you look at yourself, what words rise up? Do not try to change it yet. Just notice. Write it down. Awareness is the light that reveals the shadows. Then, when you see the patterns, begin to challenge them. Ask, is this really true? Can I find evidence against this statement? You will discover that much of your inner criticism is based on exaggeration, distortion, or outright lies. Once you see it, you can begin to rewrite it. But rewriting is not only about silencing the critic. It is also about choosing a new, empowering narrative. Instead of seeing yourself as a victim of circumstances, you can see yourself as someone who grows through every challenge. Instead of focusing only on weaknesses, you can decide to highlight your strengths and the ways you are developing them. One powerful practice is to write a letter from your future self, the version of you who has overcome, who has grown, who is strong and wise. What would that self say to you today? What encouragement would they give? What perspective would they offer about your current struggle? The more you repeat your new story, the more it embeds itself into your subconscious. Eventually, it becomes the default voice, the one that cheers you on, that steadies you, that reminds you of your strength. The inner voice that once criticized can become your greatest ally. It can be the voice that says, "You can handle this. You have handled worse. Keep going." And when that shift happens, life changes from the inside out. You stop approaching challenges with dread and begin meeting them with curiosity. You stop hiding from opportunities and begin stepping into them with courage. You stop replaying old failures and start rehearsing future victories. You realize that your destiny is not written by your circumstances, but by the story you tell yourself about them. So now I ask you, what story have you been living under? Whose words are you still carrying as your own? Today can be the day you choose a new script. Listen, notice, write, reframe, and step boldly into the narrative you were meant to live. If you feel this speaking to you, take 5 minutes today to write one sentence of a new story about yourself. Share it in the comments. You never know. Your sentence could be the lifeline someone else needs to begin rewriting their own. And if this resonates with you, subscribe to continue walking this journey of transformation. Do not let the old story win. The author of your life is you, and your pen is in your hand. Chapter 5. The Power of Present Moment Living. Where does your mind live most of the time? For many, it is not here. It is either wandering backward into the shadows of regret, replaying mistakes and losses, or racing forward into imagined futures, worrying about what might come, preparing for storms that have not yet appeared. We are time travelers of the mind, constantly leaving the only place life truly exists, the present. And in doing so, we miss everything that is real. Our children growing in front of us, opportunities whispering in the now, beauty unfolding in ordinary moments. Anxiety thrives in the future. It feeds on scenarios that may never happen, spinning stories of failure, loss, and rejection. Depression often anchors itself in the past, replaying moments that cannot be changed, holding on to grief long after life has moved forward. But peace, real peace, lives only in the present. It is not something you earn one day when life finally aligns. It is something you access right here in the now. I once worked with a woman named Jennifer who could not sleep. Night after night, she lay awake, consumed by worries about her teenage daughter's future. Would she get into college? Was she making the right choices? Was she strong enough to face adulthood? These thoughts consumed her so completely that she could barely enjoy her daughter's presence in the here and now. One day, I asked her, "How is your relationship with her right now in this moment?" She paused. Tears filled her eyes. "It is actually good," she admitted. "We laughed at breakfast this morning. She is opening up more lately. I can see her becoming a wonderful young woman." Then she realized her suffering was not about the present at all. It was about the imagined future she had been rehearsing every night. This is the trap I call time travel syndrome. You leave the present chasing ghosts of yesterday or mirages of tomorrow, and in doing so, you miss the only moment where you can love, create, and live. The irony is that the more you obsess about the future, the less present you are to build the very future you long for. Present moment living does not mean abandoning responsibility or refusing to plan. It means recognizing that the only power you have to influence life is in the choices you make now. You cannot rewrite the past from the past. You can only change how you carry it in the present. You cannot step into the future before it arrives. You can only prepare for it by showing up fully today. One of the most effective ways to anchor yourself in the present is the 5-3-2-1 grounding technique. When your mind starts racing, pause and notice five things you can see around you. The details of color, shape, texture. Then 4 things you can touch: the fabric of your clothes, the coolness of a glass, the air on your skin. Then 3 things you can hear: the hum of traffic, the sound of your own breathing, the rhythm of life around you. Then 2 things you can smell. And finally, 1 thing you can taste. In a matter of minutes, you pull yourself out of the endless noise of thought and into the richness of now. It is like dropping anchor in a storm. The waves may still move, but you are steady. Another practice is single-task presence. Choose one ordinary activity: washing dishes, brushing your teeth, taking a walk, and do it with your full awareness. Feel the warmth of the water, the rhythm of the brush, the texture of the ground beneath your feet. Do not let your mind drift into past or future. Stay with the task. You will discover that even the most mundane actions hold peace when you are fully present for them. What once felt like chores become meditations. But perhaps the deepest part of living in the present is appreciation. Most people postpone happiness. I will be happy when I get the promotion, when I lose the weight, when this season ends. But happiness is not a destination. It is a way of traveling. Peace is not an achievement. It is an awareness. Look around you right now. You are breathing. Your heart is beating. There are countless miracles happening in your body without your command. You are sitting in a life filled with small treasures. The smile of someone who loves you, the taste of food on your tongue, the sky painted with colors that no artist could reproduce. These are not waiting for the future. They are here, now. I learned this during one of the hardest seasons of my life. Finances were tight, relationships were strained, and my career direction felt uncertain. Every day I told myself I would breathe easier once these problems were fixed. But one evening, sitting alone, I noticed the sky outside my window. It was on fire with shades of orange and pink. I realized I had not looked at a sunset in months. I had been so consumed by my problems that I had missed the beauty freely given to me every single day. In that moment, nothing about my external situation had changed. But I changed. I saw the gift of now. And for the first time in months, I felt peace. Not because the problems disappeared, but because I finally showed up for the moment I was in. This is the essence of present moment living. It is not about creating a perfect life. It is about noticing the life you already have. It is about meeting each moment with open eyes and open heart and the willingness to receive its gifts. Peace is not later. It is here. Joy is not far away. It is in your breath, in your heartbeat, in the simple act of being alive right now. So I ask you, where is your mind living? In yesterday's regrets, in tomorrow's worries, or here in the only moment you actually hold tonight before you sleep? Pause. Notice one sound, one sensation, one beauty around you. Whisper to yourself, this is enough. This is life. This is where peace lives. If this message reached you, take one small action today. Practice being fully present in one task. Share your experience in the comments because others need to hear how peace can be found in something as simple as a breath. And if these words resonate, share them with someone whose mind is trapped in the past or the future. Subscribe so you never miss a reminder to return home to yourself. Your life is happening now. Do not miss it. Chapter 6. The Art of Self-Expression. There is a hidden tension that quietly eats away at your peace, the pressure of an unspoken life. How many times have you swallowed words that burned inside you because you feared they would offend? How many times have you disguised your true feelings beneath a smile, choosing silence over honesty? How many dreams have you buried because they seemed impractical, risky, or unacceptable to others? Every time you silence yourself, you build a dam inside. And like water pressing against stone, the pressure grows until it leaks out as anxiety, depression, or sudden outbursts you do not recognize as your own. Self-expression is not a luxury, it is survival. It is the river that keeps your soul flowing. When it moves freely, you feel alive, authentic, and at peace. When it is blocked, you feel restless, disconnected, and burdened by invisible weight. The tragedy is that so many people spend their entire lives pretending, shrinking, or performing because they are terrified of being rejected if they reveal who they really are. They forget that the very essence of peace is living unmasked. For years, I was guilty of this. I became a master of pleasing an expert in silence. At gatherings, I laughed at jokes that cut me inside. I nodded when I wanted to say no. I smiled when I wanted to cry. I thought I was keeping the peace, but in reality, I was sacrificing my own. The breaking point came during a family dinner when someone made a remark that cut deeply. I laughed it off, but inside a scream echoed through me. That night, I lay awake realizing I was not just upset with the comment, I was furious with myself for betraying my own voice again. I had turned my life into a stage play where the character I played was agreeable, polite, and endlessly accommodating. But the script was not mine. Authentic self-expression does not mean shouting every thought or confronting every person. It means allowing your inner world to find safe and healthy outlets. One of the most powerful is writing, not the kind where you report the events of your day, but raw, unfiltered journaling. 10 minutes where your pen moves faster than your fear, spilling out every thought, frustration, dream, and secret you have been carrying. When your thoughts live only in your head, they swirl endlessly, magnifying themselves. When you pour them onto paper, they lose their grip. They become words you can see, examine, and release. Creativity is another pathway to expression. Every human being is creative, whether you hold a brush, a guitar, a recipe, or simply the courage to rearrange your life. Creativity is not about producing masterpieces for others to applaud. It is about giving your inner life a voice. I once knew a woman named Maria, devastated by divorce, who insisted she was not creative. I urged her to try painting, even if all she did was smear colors on a canvas. At first, her work was chaotic, but then she realized that chaos was exactly what she needed to express. Dark strokes carried her grief. Bright ones carried her hope. She did not paint for beauty, she painted for freedom, and in that process she rediscovered parts of herself that had been buried beneath years of silence. Movement, too, is a form of expression. Your body stores emotions as surely as your mind does. That is why tears release more than water, and why shaking hands betray hidden fear. Sometimes the most healing thing you can do is let your body speak. Dance wildly in your room. Walk until your thoughts soften. Stretch and breathe until your muscles release the anger you could not put into words. When the body expresses, the soul feels heard. But perhaps the hardest and most transformative expression is with others, speaking truth to those who matter most. It is terrifying because it risks conflict. But conflict born of honesty is far healthier than peace born of suppression. I remember the first time I told a close friend that their words had hurt me. I expected anger, defensiveness, maybe even the loss of the friendship. Instead, they thanked me, they apologized, they told me they had no idea their words cut so deeply. Our relationship grew stronger because my honesty gave them the chance to love me more fully. That day, I realized silence had been stealing intimacy from my life. When you express yourself authentically, you create a ripple effect. You give others permission to do the same. Your courage liberates theirs. And the more you speak your truth, the less you depend on approval. You realize that your worth is not measured by whether everyone agrees with you. It is measured by whether you are true to yourself. That is where calm is born, not in hiding, but in revealing. So let me ask you, what have you been holding back? What truth sits in your chest, heavy and unspoken? What dream have you buried because you feared judgment? Today, take one step toward expression. Write it down. Speak it to someone you trust. Sing it. Paint it. Move it through your body. Whatever you do, let it out. Because your silence is costing you peace, and your voice is the key to reclaiming it. If you are still here, it means some part of you is ready to stop living muted. Do not wait. Take 10 minutes today to express something you have been holding inside. Share your reflections in the comments. It may inspire someone else to free their voice. And if this chapter stirred you, share it. Someone you know is drowning in silence, and your courage may show them the way out. Subscribe so you do not miss the next step in building a life of unshakable calm and radiant authenticity. Chapter 7. The Freedom of Forgiveness. There are chains you cannot see, but you feel them every day. They tighten when you hear a certain name, when a memory flashes unexpectedly, when your heart clenches at the thought of betrayal. These are the chains of unforgiveness, anger, bitterness, resentment that cling to you long after the moment has passed. You think you are punishing the one who wronged you, but the truth is you are the prisoner. They live rent-free in your mind, appearing in your dreams, hijacking your moods, stealing your peace. Forgiveness is the key that breaks those chains, not because they deserve it, but because you deserve freedom. Forgiveness is one of the most misunderstood powers in life. Many believe it means excusing harm, pretending the wound was not deep, reconciling with people who remain toxic. But forgiveness is not about them. It is about you. It is not about denying pain. It is about refusing to let pain define your future. It is not about forgetting. It is about remembering without being poisoned. It is not about welcoming someone back into your life if they remain unsafe. It is about removing their grip on your spirit so you can live unchained. I once worked with a man named Robert who had been betrayed by a business partner. The partner stole money, destroyed the company, and left Robert bankrupt. For years, Robert replayed the betrayal every night. His anger consumed him. He could not trust anyone. He carried his bitterness into every conversation, and opportunities slipped away because people sensed his walls. When I asked if he had considered forgiveness, he exploded. "Why should I forgive? He does not deserve it." I told him gently, forgiveness is not about setting him free. It is about setting you free. Slowly, Robert began the process. He wrote letters he never sent, pouring out his anger. He prayed for strength to release the grip of bitterness. One day he realized he had gone an entire week without thinking about his betrayer. That was the first taste of freedom he had felt in years. Forgiveness does not erase the wound, but it heals it. Think of your heart like a body. When you cut your skin, healing does not mean the wound never happened. A scar may remain, but it no longer bleeds. It no longer stings every time you touch it. Forgiveness is the scar of the soul, the mark that says, yes, I was hurt, but I am whole again. Without forgiveness, the wound stays open, raw, and infected, spreading poison through every area of your life. There is also the hidden layer of self-forgiveness. Sometimes the hardest person to release is yourself. You replay decisions, mistakes, words you cannot take back. You punish yourself with shame, believing you must carry this forever. But shame is not a teacher. It is a jailer. It keeps you stuck in what you cannot change. Forgiving yourself does not mean you ignore your mistakes. It means you accept them as part of your humanity, learn from them, and choose to grow forward instead of staying locked in the past. Without self-forgiveness, you remain your own captor. With it, you become your own liberator. One of the most powerful practices I share with people is writing a forgiveness declaration. Sit down with pen and paper and write, I choose to forgive, name for specific wound. I release them from my anger not because they are innocent, but because I choose freedom. I also choose to forgive myself for specific mistake. I refuse to let shame define me. I choose to grow. Read it aloud. Burn it if you wish. This act is not magic, but it is a declaration to your soul that you are no longer chained. Forgiveness often feels impossible. because we confuse it with a feeling. We think, I do not feel ready, but forgiveness is not a feeling, it is a decision. Feelings may take time to follow, but the choice can be made today. And every time the memory returns, you repeat the choice, I have forgiven. I am free. Like training a muscle over time, the memory loses its sting. The chains grow weaker until they finally fall. I remember a woman named Angela who forgave her father after years of abandonment. When she first said the words, her voice shook with anger, but she kept choosing forgiveness. Months later, she told me with tears in her eyes, I finally feel like my father no longer owns me. He cannot take my peace anymore. That is the essence of forgiveness. It is not about giving power back to those who hurt you. It is about reclaiming the power they once held over you. So I ask you now, who lives rent-free in your mind, what memory still chains your heart? And perhaps most importantly, what part of yourself are you still punishing? The time has come to open the cage. Forgiveness is the key, not for them, for you. If you are still with me, I invite you to take the first step. Write one name, write one wound, whisper the words even if they feel impossible, I forgive. I choose freedom. Share your reflections in the comments. You never know who else may need courage to begin. And if this chapter resonated with you, share it. Someone in your world is carrying chains they no longer need to bear. Subscribe so you do not miss the next steps in this journey of peace and resilience. Forgiveness is not the end of the story. It is the beginning of your freedom. Chapter 8. The Sacred Boundary of Peace. There is a quiet truth that many people discover too late. Your peace depends as much on what you keep out as on what you let in. You can practice gratitude, breathe deeply, and rewrite your inner story. But if you allow toxic voices, endless demands, and unhealthy environments to flood your life unchecked, your peace will be stolen before it even has a chance to take root. Boundaries are not walls built to isolate you. They are gates built to protect you. They are the sacred lines that declare, this is where I end and where you begin. This is what I will allow and this is what I will not. Without them, you are a city without walls, vulnerable to every intrusion. With them, you are a sanctuary open to love but guarded against chaos. Many struggle with boundaries because they confuse them with selfishness. They think saying no is unkind. They fear that protecting their time, energy, or emotions means they are rejecting others. But boundaries are not rejection. Boundaries are clarity. They do not push people away. They teach people how to love you better. When you allow someone to drain your energy, disrespect your values, or trample your needs without consequence, you do not preserve love. You poison it. Resentment builds in silence, and relationships crack under the weight of unspoken frustration. Boundaries prevent this. They are not the end of love. They are the container that keeps love safe. I remember a young man named Daniel who felt exhausted by his friendships. His phone buzzed constantly with demands. He was the one everyone leaned on, but when he needed help, silence met him. He feared saying no, afraid people would abandon him if he did. But instead of feeling loved, he felt used. I asked him, what would it look like if you began saying no when you needed to? He looked terrified, but he began small, turning down one request to help when he was already overwhelmed. To his surprise, his friend did not walk away. They respected him more. Over time, Daniel learned to stop being everyone's savior and start being his own protector. He discovered a radical truth: the people who truly care will stay even when you set boundaries. The ones who only took from you were never truly yours. Boundaries are not only about others, they are also about yourself. How often do you betray your own peace by overcommitting, by scrolling through endless negativity online, by comparing yourself to lives that are only highlights? You need boundaries with your own habits as much as with people. Turn off the noise, protect your mornings, guard your rest. Decide what enters your mind, for whatever you consume shapes your soul. One of the hardest boundaries is with family. We are taught that blood means unlimited access, that love means tolerance of anything. But love without boundaries is not love, it is enabling. If a family member belittles you, manipulates you, or drains you without remorse, you are not obligated to hand them the keys to your peace. Boundaries do not mean you stop loving them. They mean you stop letting their behavior destroy you. You can love someone and still limit their access to your time, your mind, and your heart. In fact, sometimes the most loving thing you can do is create distance, giving both of you space to grow. Another vital boundary is with time. Time is the currency of your life, and yet you spend it as though it is endless. Every yes is a withdrawal. Every no is a deposit. If you say yes to every demand, you bankrupt yourself. Learn to say no with clarity, not apology. Say no to what drains you so you can say yes to what matters. The world will always ask for more, but peace belongs to those who choose less, who focus their limited energy on what nourishes them and those they love most. I once coached a woman named Elise who was on the edge of burnout. Her calendar was crammed with meetings, volunteer work, social gatherings, and endless errands. She wore her busyness like a badge of honor, but inside she was crumbling. When I asked her what she really wanted, she whispered, "I just want one evening to myself without guilt." That became her first boundary. One night a week, she turned off her phone, lit a candle, and read a book. At first, she felt selfish, but soon she realized that this one night restored her, giving her more patience and presence the rest of the week. Her boundary was not selfish. It was sacred. Boundaries do not always come with applause. Some people will resist them. They will test them. They will call you difficult, cold, or unkind. But their resistance does not mean your boundary is wrong. It means your boundary is working. People who benefited from your lack of boundaries will always complain when you finally set them. Do not let their noise pull you back into slavery. Stand firm. Protect your peace. Your soul is not a doormat. So I ask you now, where are your boundaries weak or non-existent? Who or what is draining your energy because you have not drawn a line? And what would change in your life if you chose today to say no with courage? Remember this truth. Every boundary you set is not a wall against love, but a door toward freedom. If you are still listening, I challenge you to name one boundary you will create this week. Share it in the comments, not only to hold yourself accountable, but to inspire others. Someone out there needs your courage to create their own sanctuary. And if this chapter spoke to you, share it. There are countless people drowning in exhaustion who need permission to protect themselves. Subscribe to stay connected, because the journey to calm cannot be complete without the sacred boundary of peace. Chapter 9. The Practice of Reflection. Life moves at a speed that can numb the soul. Days blur into weeks, weeks into months, until you look back and wonder where the time has gone. In the rush you achieve, you hustle, you survive, but you rarely pause to ask the deeper questions. Am I living the life I want, or just the life expected of me? Am I growing, or am I circling the same patterns over and over? Without reflection, you may gain success but lose yourself. Without reflection, you may stay busy but never become wise. Reflection is not a pause from life. It is where life gains depth and direction. I remember meeting a man named Thomas, a wealthy executive, who seemed to have everything: money, power, recognition. Yet he confessed to me one evening, "I feel like I am running fast in the wrong direction." For years, he had been climbing the corporate ladder, but when he finally stopped to reflect, he realized the ladder was leaning against the wrong wall. Reflection did not change his achievements, but it changed his perspective. He began asking, what truly matters to me? What kind of man do I want to be remembered as? Within a year, he reshaped his life, cutting back hours, investing in his family, mentoring young leaders. For the first time, he said he felt peace, not because he had done more, but because he had chosen with clarity. Reflection is like holding a mirror to the soul. It reveals what you would rather avoid. It shows you where your actions betray your values, where your words do not align with your truth. That honesty can be uncomfortable, but it is also liberating. Without reflection, you keep running in circles. With reflection, you notice the patterns and begin to break them. Without reflection, mistakes repeat. With reflection, mistakes become teachers. One of the simplest yet most powerful practices of reflection is journaling with questions. Each night, instead of scrolling through endless noise, take 10 minutes and ask yourself, what drained me today? What nourished me today? What did I learn about myself? Where did I act in alignment with my values, and where did I betray them? Write honestly. Do not edit. Over time, you will see the map of your inner world more clearly. You will notice what strengthens you and what weakens you. And with that clarity, you can begin to choose differently. Another powerful practice is the weekly pause. Choose one day each week to step back, even if only for an hour. Disconnect from screens, from demands, from noise. Take a walk in silence. Sit with a notebook. Ask, am I moving in the direction I want? Are my priorities reflected in how I spend my time? What do I need to release, and what do I need to embrace? These questions realign you. Without them, you may live reactively chasing urgencies. With them, you begin to live intentionally pursuing what truly matters. Reflection is also about gratitude and celebration. Too often, we only reflect to criticize ourselves. We replay failures but forget victories. True reflection includes both. It means noticing the moments you were brave, the times you showed kindness, the progress you have made. Celebrating small wins is not arrogance, it is fuel. It reminds you that growth is happening even when you do not see it daily. There was a young woman named Lila who struggled with self-worth. She journaled daily, but only to list what she had done wrong. When I encouraged her to write 3 things she did right each day, she resisted at first. But as weeks passed, she noticed a change. She began to see herself not only as broken, but as growing. Reflection that included gratitude shifted her identity from shame to strength. Silence is the soil where reflection grows. Most people fill silence with noise because silence reveals the truth of their hearts. But if you can sit with yourself in stillness, you will hear what your soul has been trying to tell you all along. You will notice the whispers of intuition, the nudges of wisdom, the stirrings of dreams you have ignored. Reflection requires courage, but it rewards you with clarity. So let me ask you, when was the last time you paused long enough to ask yourself where you are going? When was the last time you sat with your own soul, not to distract it, but to listen? Do not wait until crisis forces you to stop. Choose to reflect now. Choose to live awake, not asleep. If you are still with me, I invite you tonight to carve out 10 minutes. Write down what drained you today and what nourished you. Share one insight in the comments. You never know whose heart it might awaken. And if these words touched you, pass them on. Someone in your life is running fast but blind, and your encouragement could help them pause before they lose themselves. Subscribe so you do not miss the next chapters. The practice of reflection is not the end of calm, it is the foundation of it. Chapter 10. The resilience of the unbroken spirit. Life will break you, not once, not twice, but many times. Illness, betrayal, loss, disappointment. These are not exceptions to the human story, they are part of it. You cannot choose whether storms come, you can only choose how you will stand when they do. Some collapse never to rise again. Others rise scarred but stronger with a quiet power in their eyes. That power is resilience, the unbroken spirit that refuses to let hardship have the final word. Resilience is not the absence of pain. It is the ability to walk through pain without being consumed. It is not pretending you are fine when you are shattered. It is learning how to bend without breaking, how to feel grief without drowning in it, how to face fear without surrendering your courage. Resilience is not about being unshaken, it is about being shaken and choosing to rise anyway. I remember a woman named Claire who lost her husband unexpectedly. In the first months, she was drowning in grief, unable to imagine a future without him. Friends whispered that she would never recover, but slowly she began to do something remarkable. Each morning before she rose, she whispered to herself, "One small step today." Some days that step was brushing her teeth. Other days it was walking around the block. Months later it was attending a gathering, smiling again, laughing for the first time. Claire did not erase her pain, but she built strength, one step at a time. Years later she told me, "I am not who I was before, but I am stronger, kinder, and more alive." My spirit did not break, it grew. Resilience begins with perspective. When hardship strikes, the natural question is, why me? That question chains you to victimhood. Resilience asks instead, what now? Not why, but how. How will I respond? How will I grow? What will this teach me? You cannot always choose your suffering, but you can always choose your story about it. That story is the seed of resilience. Think of bamboo. In the storm, oak trees often fall because they resist. But bamboo bends, sways, and survives. Its flexibility is its strength. Resilient people are like bamboo. They are not rigidly attached to life looking one way. When plans collapse, they adapt. When people leave, they grieve but keep moving. When failure comes, they mine it for lessons. Flexibility is not weakness, it is power. The rigid break, the flexible endure. Another ingredient of resilience is connection. The myth of the strong, isolated warrior is dangerous. Resilient people know when to lean on others. They seek community mentors, friends who remind them they are not alone. Isolation magnifies suffering. Connection transforms it. I once knew a soldier who returned from war haunted by trauma. He resisted help, believing strength meant silence. His pain nearly destroyed him. But when he finally joined a support group, he realized resilience was not hiding his wounds. It was healing them in the presence of others. His spirit was unbroken not because he fought alone, but because he allowed others to fight with him. Resilience is also built in small daily habits. The food you eat, the sleep you protect, the exercise you commit to, all of these build the foundation for how you endure crisis. You cannot expect to rise strong in the storm if you neglect yourself in the calm. Self-care is not indulgence. It is preparation. It is building reserves of strength so that when life shakes you, you do not crumble. And finally, resilience is spiritual. It is rooted in the belief that life, no matter how dark, still carries meaning. Whether you call it faith, hope, or purpose, resilient people hold a conviction that the story is not over. They believe that pain can be transformed, that ashes can become beauty, that wounds can become wisdom. This belief is what allows them to rise again and again. So I ask you now, what storm has bent you? What loss, what betrayal, what hardship has tested your spirit? You may feel broken, but you are not destroyed. Inside you is a resilience deeper than you know. Bend, but do not break. Grieve, but do not surrender. Fall, but rise again. The unbroken spirit is not about avoiding the storm. It is about becoming the kind of soul that no storm can destroy. If you are with me still, let this be the moment you honor your own resilience. Write in the comments one hardship you survived and what it taught you. Your story may be the lifeline for someone drowning in their own storm. And if these words resonated, share them. Someone you love needs to be reminded that they are stronger than they think. Subscribe so you do not miss the next chapters. The journey continues, but let this truth echo in your heart. Your spirit is unbreakable, and resilience is your birthright. Chapter 11. The vision that guides your life. Every human being lives by a vision, whether they admit it or not. For some, it is a clear, shining picture of a future they are working toward. For others, it is an unconscious vision shaped by fear, by old wounds, by the expectations of others. But vision always guides. Without it, you drift. With it, you endure storms because you know where you are going. Without it, every obstacle feels like the end. With it, every obstacle becomes a step along the path. Vision is not luxury, it is necessity. It is the compass of the soul. I remember a young man named Joseph who worked tirelessly at a job he hated. When I asked him why he stayed, he shrugged. It pays the bills. I pressed further. What do you want your life to look like in 10 years? He stared at me blankly. He had never asked himself. He was not living by vision, he was living by survival. And though his body was alive, his spirit was dying. When he finally began to craft a vision, everything shifted. He realized he wanted to mentor young people to build something meaningful beyond himself. Slowly, he transitioned out of his job, started volunteering, and eventually built a nonprofit. For the first time, his days were fueled by purpose instead of drained by obligation. Vision gives meaning to struggle. Think of an athlete rising at dawn to train, enduring sore muscles, sacrifices setbacks. Why do they persist? Because they see the medal, the finish line, the victory. Without that vision, the pain would feel pointless. With vision, the pain becomes proof of progress. Life works the same way. If you do not know where you are going, every difficulty feels unbearable. But when your heart carries a vision, you can endure almost anything because you know it leads somewhere worth going. But vision is not only about grand achievements, it is about alignment. Who do you want to become? How do you want to treat people? What kind of legacy do you want to leave behind? Vision is not about controlling outcomes. It is about clarifying direction. A person with vision may fail in 100 attempts, but they will rise again because their compass has not changed. A person without vision may succeed outwardly but feel hollow because their success does not lead anywhere that matters. Creating vision requires silence and courage. Silence because you must hear your own soul above the noise of others. Courage because the vision that arises may not match what the world expects of you. Perhaps your family dreamed you would become a doctor, but your vision calls you to art. Perhaps society tells you to chase wealth, but your vision calls you to serve. The courage to follow your own vision is the difference between living a life that looks good to others and living a life that feels true to yourself. One practice I encourage is the future self-exercise. Close your eyes and imagine yourself 10 years from now. Where are you living? Who is around you? How do you spend your days? What qualities radiate from you? Write it all down in vivid detail. Then ask yourself, what small step today moves me closer to this vision is not built in leaps. It is built in consistent steps, guided by clarity. Vision also protects you from distractions. Without vision, you say yes to everything because you do not know what truly matters. With vision, you can say no with strength because you know where you are headed. Opportunities that do not align no longer tempt you because they are simply detours. Vision gives you the power to focus your limited energy on what counts. I once met a woman named Hannah who described her life as 1,000 half-finished projects. She chased every idea but never finished any. When she finally clarified her vision to write books that inspired healing, she let go of everything else. She stopped saying yes to random projects. She built her days around writing. Within 3 years, she published her first book, something she had dreamed about for over a decade. Vision turned chaos into clarity, noise into direction. So let me ask you, what is your vision? Not the one handed to you by others, but the one whispered by your own soul. If you do not know, it is time to begin the search. Because without vision, life is survival. With vision, life is creation. If you are still listening, I challenge you tonight to write one paragraph describing your future self. Not in vague terms, but in vivid detail. Share one line in the comments. Your vision may inspire someone else to find their own. And if this chapter stirred something in you, share it. Someone you know is drifting, and your words could help them find their compass. Subscribe to stay connected because the journey is not over. The vision that guides your life is waiting to be discovered. And when you embrace it, everything changes. Chapter 12, The Strength of Patience. In a world of instant gratification, patience feels like weakness. You are told to hustle faster, answer quicker, get results. Now, every advertisement screams urgency. Buy now, decide now, succeed now. And yet the greatest transformations in life have always required patience. A seed does not become a tree overnight. A wound does not become a scar in a day. A dream worth living does not unfold in a week. Patience is not passivity, it is strength. It is the calm conviction that life's most precious things cannot be rushed. I once knew a young man named Ethan who wanted success more than anything. He jumped from one idea to another: businesses, investments, jobs, never staying long enough to let roots grow. Each time when results did not come fast, he abandoned the effort and declared it a failure. By the time he turned 30, he was exhausted and disillusioned. We sat together one afternoon, and I asked him, what if the problem is not that you failed, but that you never waited long enough to succeed? His eyes widened. For the first time, he saw that impatience had stolen his progress. When he finally committed to one vision and gave it years instead of weeks, his life began to bloom. Patience is strength because it keeps you steady when progress is invisible. Growth is often silent. You do not see the roots forming beneath the soil. You do not notice the healing happening inside your body. You do not always recognize the ways your persistence is shaping your character. But patience trusts the unseen. It says, I may not see the harvest yet, but I will keep watering. Without patience, you dig up the seed before it has a chance to grow. With patience, you allow life to unfold in its time. Impatience is born from fear. Fear that if it does not happen now, it will never happen. Fear that you are falling behind others. Fear that your worth is measured by speed. But patience is born from trust. Trust that life has its rhythms. Trust that your effort will bear fruit. Trust that delay is not denial. When you choose patience, you choose peace over panic. Think of nature. The river does not rush to the sea in one day. It carves its path slowly, steadily, shaping valleys and nourishing life along the way. The seasons do not hurry. Winter yields to spring only when the earth is ready. You are part of that same rhythm. Forcing life to move faster than it should only breaks you. Aligning with its timing strengthens you. Patience is also the strength to endure discomfort without quitting. It is easy to stay committed when the path feels exciting. But true patience is tested in the waiting, when nothing seems to move, when silence echoes louder than progress. This is where most give up. But those who persist discover that patience transforms waiting into preparation. In the stillness, you grow roots. You build resilience. You clarify your vision. The waiting is not wasted, it is shaping you for what is coming. I think of Rosa, a woman who longed to be a mother. Years of infertility broke her heart. Month after month, disappointment crushed her. She told me once, I do not know how much longer I can wait. But she did. She endured the tests, the treatments, the endless uncertainty, and in the waiting she grew stronger. When adoption opened as a path, she embraced it with all her heart. Today her home is filled with laughter. Looking back, she said, the waiting was agony, but it prepared me to love more deeply than I ever thought possible. Her story is proof patience is not weakness. Patience is power. Patience is also a gift in relationships. Love without patience collapses into control. Friendship without patience fractures under misunderstanding. Family without patience becomes a battlefield of unmet expectations. To be patient with others is to recognize that they too are growing, stumbling, learning. It is to allow space for mistakes without condemnation, to hold space for change without rushing it. Patience says, I will walk beside you even if the pace is slow. And perhaps most importantly, patience is something you owe yourself. You are not a finished product. You will fall, fail, and falter. Do not demand instant transformation. Give yourself permission to grow at a human pace. Forgive yourself when progress feels slow. Celebrate small victories along the way. You are becoming, and becoming always takes time. So let me ask you, where have you been impatient? Where have you been tempted to abandon something simply because it has not blossomed yet? What would shift if you trusted the process instead of rushing it? Your dream may be closer than you think, but only if you stay long enough to see it bloom. If you are still with me, I challenge you to name one area where you will choose patience this week. Share it in the comments. You may inspire someone else to wait with strength. And if these words touched you, share them. Someone you know is about to give up, and your encouragement might keep them in the fight. Subscribe so you do not miss the next chapter. Remember, this patience is not sitting still. It is standing strong, knowing that what is meant to be will come not in your time, but in the right time. Chapter 13. The Discipline of Consistency. There is a lie that whispers to you every time you begin something new that motivation will carry you. You feel a spark, a surge of inspiration, and you believe it will last. But motivation is a wave. It rises high and then crashes. If you build your life on motivation, you will quit every time the wave falls. True transformation is not built on waves. It is built on consistency, the quiet, disciplined decision to show up again and again, whether you feel like it or not. I once coached a writer named Samuel. He dreamed of finishing a novel but struggled for years waiting for the right mood. Weeks would pass without a single sentence, and then he would write furiously for a few days, only to stop again. One day, frustrated, he asked me, "How do great writers stay inspired?" I told him, "They do not. They stay consistent. They write whether the muse shows up or not." Samuel resisted at first, but eventually committed to writing 500 words every morning. Some days it flowed. Some days it felt like pulling teeth. But he kept going. A year later, he held a completed manuscript in his hands. He told me it was not inspiration that wrote this book. It was consistency. Consistency is the discipline of showing up not for perfection, but for progress. A small action repeated daily will always outweigh a burst of effort followed by collapse. Reading 1 page a day builds wisdom. Saving $1 a day builds security. Running 1 mile a day builds strength. The actions are small, but the accumulation is enormous. Consistency compounds. What seems insignificant today becomes monumental tomorrow. The human mind loves intensity, but resists consistency. You want the dramatic breakthrough, the sudden success, the overnight change. But life does not work that way. A tree does not grow by stretching itself one day and resting the rest. It grows by absorbing sunlight and water consistently, day after day. Your growth is the same. Breakthrough is not an event. It is the result of countless consistent steps. Consistency also creates identity. Every time you show up, you cast a vote for the kind of person you are becoming. When you exercise daily, even for 10 minutes, you are not just building fitness. You are reinforcing the identity of someone who cares for their body. When you practice gratitude nightly, you are not just listing blessings, you are becoming a grateful person. Identity is not built by what you do once, but by what you do consistently. I remember a young woman named Naomi who struggled with anxiety. She tried meditation a few times, but when it did not work instantly, she gave up. Later, she committed to just 5 minutes of stillness each day, no matter how she felt. At first, it seemed pointless, but after months, she noticed she was calmer in traffic, less reactive in conflict, more present with her family. She told me it was not one meditation that changed me, it was hundreds of small ones stacked together. Consistency, not intensity, gave her peace. But consistency is not glamorous. No one applauds you for flossing your teeth, for studying an extra hour, for choosing water instead of soda. The world loves dramatic moments but ignores the quiet discipline behind them. That is why consistency requires inner strength. You must choose to value progress over applause, to value long-term growth over short-term thrill. You must choose to keep going when no one notices. The greatest enemy of consistency is perfectionism. You tell yourself, if I cannot do it perfectly, I will not do it at all. But consistency is not about perfection. It is about persistence. Missing one day does not erase your progress. What matters is returning the next day. Consistency is grace applied to discipline. It allows room for mistakes but refuses to surrender to them. So let me ask you, what dream have you abandoned because you waited for perfect motivation? What area of your life could be transformed if you chose small, consistent actions instead of waiting for a surge of inspiration? Imagine what 1 year of daily discipline could create. The future you long for is not built in grand gestures, it is built in consistent steps. If you are still with me, choose one action you will commit to daily for the next 30 days. Share it in the comments. Someone else may need your example to begin. And if these words resonate, pass them on. Someone you know is waiting for motivation, and they need the reminder that consistency is the true path to change. Subscribe so you do not miss the final chapters of this journey. Remember, this greatness is not built in moments of passion. It is built in the discipline of consistency. Chapter 14. The courage to reset your standards. There comes a moment in every life when you realize that the life you are living is smaller than the life you are meant for. Maybe it shows up as exhaustion, the quiet sense that you are carrying burdens that are not truly yours. Maybe it shows up as frustration, the gnawing awareness that people take more from you than they give. Maybe it shows up as emptiness, the haunting feeling that even your achievements do not satisfy. These are signals, whispers from your soul that your standards are too low, and until you reset them, you will keep living beneath your own worth. Standards are invisible rules you set for yourself and for how others treat you. They define what you will accept, what you will pursue, and what you will tolerate. The truth is, you are not only living the life you created, you are living the life your standards allow. If you accept disrespect, you will receive it. If you accept mediocrity, you will remain in it. If you accept exhaustion as normal, you will live perpetually drained. But when you raise your standards, everything shifts. People treat you differently. Opportunities rise to meet you. Your energy aligns with your values. I once met a man named Daniel who was constantly overworked and underpaid. His boss demanded endless hours, yet gave him little recognition. When I asked him why he stayed, he said, "That is just how work is." That was his standard. Low, resigned, rooted in fear. But when he finally realized he deserved better, he drew a line. He told his boss he would no longer work unpaid overtime. When nothing changed, he left. Within months, he found a position that valued his contributions and paid him fairly. His entire life elevated not because the world suddenly became generous, but because his standards reset. Raising your standards is not arrogance. It is alignment. It is refusing to tolerate what steals your peace, your dignity, your growth. It is saying, I will no longer betray myself to fit in, to be liked, to survive. I will honor who I am and what I deserve. That courage is terrifying because it often means disappointing others. But the truth is, every time you lower your standards, you disappoint yourself. And no relationship, no job, no opportunity is worth the slow death of your soul. Resetting your standards begins within. What do you expect of yourself? Do you expect discipline or do you excuse laziness? Do you expect kindness or do you tolerate cruelty in your words? Do you expect integrity or do you justify compromise? When you raise the standards inside your external world, follows. You cannot demand respect from others if you do not respect yourself. You cannot expect loyalty if you betray your own values. Every reset begins with you. But resetting standards also extends outward. It means drawing boundaries where none existed. It means saying no to relationships that drain you, even if they have lasted for years. It means refusing opportunities that do not align with your vision, even if they promise quick rewards. It means demanding more of your time, energy, and heart, not for selfishness but for sacredness. Your peace is precious. Protect it with the standards you set. I remember a woman named Grace who tolerated constant criticism from her partner. Every time she spoke her dreams, he dismissed them. Every time she showed vulnerability, he mocked her. She told herself it was normal that all couples fought, but when she finally raised her standards and said, "I will no longer live with disrespect," her life changed. She left that relationship and built a life surrounded by people who believed in her. She told me, "The day I raised my standards, I stopped begging for scraps of love and started feasting on real love." Raising your standards does not mean life becomes easy. It means you stop living small. It means you stop accepting what breaks you. It means you begin demanding the version of yourself that is waiting to emerge. This requires courage because it will cost you comfort, but comfort is the enemy of growth. Better discomfort with dignity than comfort with compromise. So let me ask you now, where are your standards too low? Where are you tolerating less than you deserve? Where are you betraying yourself to keep others comfortable? The reset begins today. Write it down, declare it, speak it into existence. I will no longer accept this. I will demand more of myself. I will demand more of my life. If you are still here, it means you are ready to rise. Take one step this week, set one higher standard, and refuse to betray it. Share it in the comments to strengthen your resolve and inspire others. And if this chapter stirred something inside you, share it with someone who needs courage to demand more of their life. Subscribe so you do not miss the final call, because the journey is building toward the fire of transformation. Remember, you are not defined by what you tolerate. You are defined by the standards you set and the courage you show to live by them. Chapter 15. The Awakening Call. There comes a point in every journey where words are no longer enough. You can read, you can listen, you can fill your mind with wisdom, but unless you act, nothing changes. This chapter is not meant to soothe you. It is meant to wake you. You have carried too much potential in silence. You have waited too long for the perfect moment, the perfect plan, the perfect confidence. But there is no perfect moment. There is only now. And if you do not decide now, when will you? Tomorrow, next year, when life feels easier, that day will never come. The future you long for is calling, and the only price is courage in this moment. Look at your life honestly. How many years have you already lost to fear, to hesitation, to the opinions of others? How many times have you silenced your dreams because you thought they were too risky, too unrealistic, too selfish? How many times have you accepted exhaustion, disrespect, or mediocrity because you were afraid of raising your standards? These choices add up. They become decades of living small. And one day you will wake up and realize you traded your soul for comfort, your passion for approval, your freedom for fear. Do not let that day be your story. You are not here to survive quietly. You are here to burn brightly. You are here to live with such truth, such courage, such love, that the world cannot ignore your presence. You are here to heal what you thought would always be broken, to rise where you once fell, to shine where you once hid. The power is not somewhere out there. It is within you, waiting for you to claim it. But power requires decision. You must choose. Choose to forgive the one who wronged you, not because they deserve it, but because you deserve peace. Choose to silence the inner critic and rewrite your story into one of courage. Choose to live in the present moment instead of replaying the past or rehearsing the future. Choose to draw boundaries where your peace has been stolen. Choose to pursue your vision with relentless consistency. Choose to raise your standards so high that only truth and love can reach you. This is not a gentle invitation. This is a demand from your own soul. Enough waiting, enough apologizing, enough hiding. Stand up, decide who you will be. Act even if your voice trembles. Take the first step even if your knees shake. You will never feel fully ready, But readiness is not required, willingness is. I remember a young man named Marcus who spent years paralyzed by fear of failure. He had ideas, dreams, talents, but he buried them under excuses. Then one day, after losing a loved one, he realized how fragile life is. He told me, if I do not start now, I may never start at all. He launched his project terrified, unprepared, but determined. Today, he runs a thriving business that impacts thousands. His success did not come from confidence, it came from urgency. He stopped waiting, he acted. That same urgency is for you. Your life is not a rehearsal. This is it. These are your days. Every hour you wait is an hour you never get back. You may think you are protecting yourself by staying small, but really, you are slowly dying. Safety is not safety when it costs you your soul. Risk is not risk when it gives you your life back. So I ask you with all the weight of truth, what will you choose? Will you keep drifting, numbing yourself, hoping that change will arrive without your decision? Or will you rise to draw a line in the sand and declare, enough, I will live fully. I will act now. If you feel your heart racing as you read this, do not ignore it. That is your soul pounding on the door, demanding freedom. Do not silence it again. Do not roll over and go back to sleep. Wake up, step up, begin now. If you are still here, it means you are ready. Share in the comments one decision you will make today. Speak it aloud so the world hears, and then act. Do not let fear win one more day. Share this with someone who needs the same awakening, because you are not the only one drifting. Subscribe so you stay connected, so you never lose the fire that is burning now. The awakening call is simple but fierce live. Not tomorrow, not someday, today. The world is waiting for your courage, and your life is waiting for your decision. Chapter 16. The final call to embody your transformation. You have walked through storms in these pages. You have faced the paradox of control, learned the revolution of gratitude, discovered the art of emotional resetting, and rewritten the story inside your mind. You have been challenged to forgive, to set sacred boundaries, to reflect, to rise resilient, to live in vision, patience, and consistency. You have been pushed to raise your standards and to awaken your soul. But none of it matters if it remains only words. Transformation does not live in knowledge. Transformation lives in embodiment. It is not what you know, it is what you do. The life you long for will not arrive as a gift wrapped neatly by fate. It will not appear because you hoped or wished or dreamed. It will appear because you chose again and again to live differently. Calm will not fall from the sky, you must create it daily. Positivity will not spring from perfect circumstances, you must water it with your perspective. Strength will not simply arrive, you must build it with your habits. Everything you desire is already waiting inside you, but only you can bring it forth. Imagine yourself 1 year from now. If you embody what you have learned, if you practice gratitude daily, reset your emotions in moments of chaos, guard your boundaries, forgive, reflect, and live with consistency. Who will you be? Picture your eyes steady with peace, your heart free of bitterness, your mind clear, your relationships alive with honesty, your body stronger, your soul radiant. That person is not a fantasy. That person is you if you dare to embody what you already know. But here is the truth. The world will resist your change. Old habits will try to pull you back. People who benefited from your silence, your exhaustion, your lack of boundaries will test you. Life will send storms to see if your roots are real. This is not punishment. This is proof. Transformation is not fragile. It is forged in fire. Every test you face will ask you, will you embody what you have learned, or will you collapse back into the old? That is your choice. I once worked with a woman named Layla who devoured books on growth but never acted. She could quote wisdom by heart, but her life remained the same, chaotic, unfulfilled, full of resentment. One day she confessed, I think I am addicted to learning but afraid of living. That was her turning point. She stopped reading for comfort and started acting for change. She set boundaries. She began journaling daily. She forgave herself. Within months, her life shifted. The difference was not more information, it was embodiment. She chose to live the truth instead of just collecting it. You have the same choice. Do not become addicted to inspiration without transformation. Do not let this book become another memory, another voice you listened to but never acted on. Let it be your line in the sand. Let it be the spark that becomes fire. Embody what you know. Live it until it shapes you. Act until it becomes identity. This is your final call. Stop waiting for certainty. Stop waiting for approval. Stop waiting for courage to appear fully formed. Act now. Forgive today. Set one boundary today. Speak one truth today. Take one consistent step today. These small acts embodied daily will build the extraordinary life you long for. Do not underestimate the power of one act lived fully. If you are still here, it means you are ready. Do not leave this moment unchanged. In the comments, declare one truth you will embody starting now. Speak it so it echoes not only in your heart, but in the hearts of others. Share this with someone who needs to be reminded that their life is waiting for them to rise. And subscribe so you carry this fire forward and never lose the reminders that keep you steady. The journey does not end here. It begins here. The words are finished, but your story is not. Embody your transformation. Live awake. Live free. Live as the unshakable soul you were always meant to be.